Got a good video for you guys today. Gonna take this car from where it's at now to 600 wheel horsepower, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do it part by part. So here we go. Guys, let's talk wiring. So the last video I did with the radium fuel system install, I wanted to basically touch up on that because I got a lot of comments about that, asking how to exactly wire it and how I did it. So I'm going to show you here on this car. This car already had some wiring done by somebody else on the first pump. So I put the radium system in, as you saw in the clip before this, and I've already got the wires pre-run, ready to go. And basically I'm just going to add a second relay with my own wiring, and I'm going to use what's already existing there if I can, best I can. So I'm just going to show you guys basically how this is going to be set up. So this is the relay that was already here for the main fuel pump, the old fuel pump. So we're going to call this the main fuel pump number 1. So the way they've got this one run is this power wire here goes all the way up to the front, to the battery in the front of the car. And that comes into the relay and is going to supply basically the power. So we've got a few other wires here. So this wire here, they've got this wired into the fuel pump. So this supplies power to the fuel pump, which goes inside here directly to that pump. Then the other wire that comes out of the pump right here is going directly to a ground they've located right here on the seat bolt. So that works fine. I don't have any issues with that. That works out good. So that's one way to do it. So what I'm basically going to do is the second fuel pump, I like to stage it, as it's called. So the second fuel pump is only going to come on when the car's in boost. And the way we do that is we've got these two power wires here, or these two wires, I should say. I've put a knot in the power and the other one's ground to the second fuel pump in the radium hanger. What we're going to do though is we're going to use this relay basically to go in between all that and control that second pump. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to run a power wire directly to the battery with a fuse in line, just like the other pump is set up. Then we're going to ground the other side of the relay to the chassis because it has to be grounded. And we're going to trigger, so the blue is our trigger wire here. We're going to trigger that with a boost activated switch under the hood that's connected to a boost source. What that's going to do is that's going to supply power to this wire only in boost. And that's how we're going to activate the second pump. All right, so I'm going to explain a little bit how a relay works and why we use a relay. So as you can see here, this is a 12 volt relay. Now, the way a relay works is it's essentially taking and controlling a high current load with a low current signal or source. So the way it does that is it has two different gauge wires. If you look here, you see how it has a smaller gauge blue and black wire, and then it has a big thick red wires. Well, what we're doing here is this is basically going to be a middleman between any device that you want to power. And a lot of people are going to say, well, why do you run a relay? Why do we have to do that? Well, the reason is because a lot of times the source that we want basically to turn our load on is not capable of supplying enough current because the wires aren't thick enough in the system to supply the device we're powering. So that's where this comes in. So basically how this works is there's a little coil inside here. I don't know if you guys can see. I'll see if I can zoom in here. So there's a diagram usually on the front of every relay. And if you look there, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to try to get this best I can. But you have basically a switch that's normally in one position until the coil in there is activated and then flips it over. So internally, there's a switch inside with a resistor and a coil that controls the little switch. It's basically a mechanical switch inside this relay. So you can hook this relay up several different ways. Basically, if you ground this wire and you power the blue wire, you will hear a click immediately, which means the relay switches over. And all that does is it's connecting the red wires together either, so if I can show you, you've got the middle wire here, which, this relay has. This middle wire is always going to be connected when the relay is off. Then when you power the relay, it's going to connect the two outer wires together. So for our application for a fuel pump, we're not going to use the middle wire, so we usually cut that one off. But these are going to be our two wires at play. We're going to have battery power coming in here, and then as soon as you activate the relay, it switches power over to this side and powers the fuel pump. So it's a very simple device. You can actually control this with ground as well. So if you, let's say you always have power to the blue wire, and you can actually switch the ground on and off and do the same exact thing. And you're still going to power the fuel pump just like you can. So relays are pretty cool because, you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. You can control a lot of big current devices with a small current source. So that's how a relay works. Hopefully it helps you guys understand why we do this. It is very important though, when you're running a relay, when you run battery power to this relay from the one big control side, that you have a fuse in between the battery and this relay. The reason why is because if for some reason this relay burns inside or gets shorted out, it could cause a fire, catch the wires on fire. If you have a fuse, the fuse will blow and it will protect your wiring. So always use fuses in line that are rated properly for your application. All right, so fuel system's installed. We have all the fuel line up here in the hood that I have to cut and fit. I haven't done it yet because now we're going to get on to the next phase of this project, which is changing out the turbo kit, the intercooler system, the intake manifold is going to be changed. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff to the engine bay here. So we're going to tear all this down and we're going to get down there, and then I'm going to finish making these fuel lines and tuck them real nice and neat and make them look good. But yeah, we've got some really good parts here, guys. We've got an ETS front mount intercooler kit, Process West intake, ETS rotated turbo kit, and the elephant in the room, a 6466 Gen 2 precision turbo. So really excited about that. This car's going to make some awesome power. So we also have a good old tile wastegate. I've got some more fittings I still need to do. And we're also going to be doing some pretty cool billet TGV deletes on this. These TGV deletes are going to go really well with the Process West intake manifold. The car already has a set of our old V1 TGV deletes, which work fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but the HMS V2s are just so pretty. So these are all billet CNC O-rings, really nice stuff. So this is definitely going to complement the engine bay quite a bit and go with that Process West intake manifold. So I can't wait to get it on there and show you guys. So also got some FIC 2150 injectors that are going in. FIC always takes care of us. Really like their stuff. So yeah, it's time to tear this engine bay down, get all this old stuff out, and then start putting the goodies in. All right, guys, finally got it apart. Intake's off. Boy, what a pain. So you guys are going to notice it's not the stock turbo. So this car has a Borg Warner EFR stock location turbo. Pretty good size turbo, but oh man, what a pain. Everything's crammed in there real tight. I'm really excited to go rotate it on this car and just get this engine bay just so much more tidy. But I know a lot of you guys are going to ask, you know, I've gotten this question before, is why do we go rotated? Why? Well, one of the biggest things that I'll tell you just straight off the bat is just ease of working on the vehicle. Rotated just makes things so much simpler and just so much easier to work on, because basically what happens is, instead of the turbo going straight under the intake manifold with this big inlet tube that's crammed in there and having to run, this AOS, the street style AOS and all that, it just makes things very, very tight and cramped, very hard to work on, very frustrating. And what rotated does is it rotates the turbo this way, up and back, so that all the intake goes around the manifold at this point, and it just sets the turbo way back in the firewall to where it makes things so much easier to work on and service. That's one of the points about rotated. Now, there's also some big performance benefits from rotated, obviously, but I'm going to touch on that later in another video. But anyways, we got the intake off. So now the next step is going to be, we got to get that turbo off, get the old turbo kit off. We're going to take all these AOS lines and we're going to get all this out of here. We're going to get this thing stripped down, and then we're going to have to start rebuilding and redesigning all of these lines and get them clean and get everything to fit right, make our new fuel lines fit the new rails, get that plumbed up and the regulator and all that. The Cobb Flex fuel kit's got to go back on. So I got a ton of work to do, so I'm going to get to it. All right, got the old turbo kit out. Everything's coming together. So turbo's out. If you guys want to take a look at this, I know a lot of you are like thinking, wait a minute, Borg Warner stock location. So this is the turbo that was in there. This is a Borg Warner turbo, and it has an internal gate. It's V-band in and out. It's pretty much the biggest turbo that I've ever seen in a stock location. And you guys are probably asking, well, why is he changing it? This thing should be pretty cool. Well, this turbo does have its limitations, and for the amount of power that he wants, this turbo just can't do it. So that's why we're stepping up into the rotated world, because we're going way bigger. So I'm going to keep going on this. Next step's going to be, I got to get that old up pipe out of there, and then I'm going to pull the front bumper, and we're going to start fitting up the front mount intercooler. We're going to hang the core on there. And I'm going to mock the turbo up and get that mocked up and get the fuel rails, intake, and all that going. So I still got a ton of work to do, so we're going to keep on trucking. right, guys, got the rotated kit on and the Process West manifold with the HMS TGV deletes. Man, does it look good. Look at that. Look at the difference in the engine bay. I'm not even done yet, and it's just so much cleaner. It's just sweet. So with the Process West intake manifolds and the ETS front mount turbo kits, there is one issue. The pipe that goes into the throttle body here is going to be too long. It's going to hit the firewall. So with the throttle body on, the Process West does sit back further. So I have Josh coming out tomorrow. He's going to come refab that intercooler pipe for us, and then it's going to fit perfect, and then we'll be able to finish this thing up. So I still got to put the rails on. So I'm going to put the rails on and mock those up with the injectors in them, get the intercooler pipes mocked up for him so he can see it. We got the front mount core mounted, looking good. So I'm going to get all that done and then show you guys what it looks like. All right, guys, I got it mocked up for Josh tomorrow for the piping. As you can see, with the Process West, the pipe is too long. So that's what he's going to come out and address tomorrow. Everything else is looking great. Look at these rails set up, injectors. Oh, it's beautiful. Whew, she's coming together. Can't wait to tune this one. All right, guys, well, I'm going to end the video here. There's going to be a part 2 to this video. We're going to do a part 2 of this video. We're going to pick up tomorrow when Josh gets here to do the fabrication on the piping. And then after he's done with the piping, we're going to finish all the stuff in the engine bay. And then we're going to finish, all the little odds and ends, couplers, wiring, everything. And then she'll be ready for tune. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to watch the next one, part 2. Until next time, we'll see you later.